Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Behind Our Science. I'm Daisy Shu.
And I'm Vic Meadows. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to give a behind the scenes recap of our recent trip to the ASIP 2025 annual meeting in Portland, Oregon, called Pathobiology 2025.
That's right. From networking events to excellent scientific sessions, today we're going to unpack our full ASIP experience, what inspired us, what challenged us, and how we're transitioning back into lab life.
We're also going to chat about the joys and oddities of science travel, balancing work and fun whenever you are in the conference travel, and what it's really like preparing and presenting a poster or a talk at a big conference like ASIPS.
So, whether you are in Portland with us or tuning in from afar, this is your inside look at what happens behind our science at big meetings like these.
What an amazing intro, Daisy. Thank you so much.
You're
So,
welcome.
what were your initial thoughts when arriving in beautiful Portland, Oregon?
Well, Portland is a place that I've visited once before. So I kind of knew about its beauty, about Mount Hood, and had taken the aerial tram. So I'd seen,
Mhm.
how beautiful the city is, and but it was really nice coming back to it because I think it's just one of those cities that you keep wanting to come back to because it's just filled with awesome food. I love the food trucks, really great art, street art. It's just one of those cities that's filled with a lot of culture, just walking around. So yeah, I love Portland.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit biased. My sister lives there, so being close to family is always a joy for me, but I also love Portland. I got my master's at OHSU, and so I got to live in Portland for a while, and I think it was a very interesting place to come into myself as an adult. And this was the first truly academic research experience I ever had was working in this bacteriology lab at OHSU. And Portland just holds a really dear place to my in my heart, aside from just the natural beauty, like you mentioned, the mountains like Mount Hood, or seeing all the alpines, like ridge lines, and ocean is a couple hours away. You've got rivers and lakes within a half hour. It is truly stunning. That was something that I
Amazing.
tried to capture when we were doing the Patho Mangle DIY tour of Portland. And for those of you who didn't get to join us at Pathobiology 2025, ASIP paid for day passes for trainees to take the shuttles, or not shuttles, sorry, the streetcars, the trams, and the buses to get a tour of Portland. We went all the way to the Rose Garden in Washington Park. We went to the Pearl District. We checked out the libraries downtown. It was really fun. I really enjoyed getting to show people all the fun stuff that's in that near in northwest region of Portland.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Vic, for organizing that and showing us
Oh,
a
Michelle
taste
Alves
of
helped too. I
Portland.
can't take all the credit.
And Michelle, yes, thank you to you and Michelle, because that was such an awesome event, especially for first-time attendees. And yeah, like I got to meet my Pathfinders mentee, which was really great. And Nina was the name, and she yeah really enjoyed this. I think it's so fun to just have an event before the meeting kicks off
Mhm.
to get to know people so that when you actually go to the meeting, you're not kind of looking for people to talk to because you already formed a little bit of a group to talk to, so you're quite comfortable. And you get used to what the city's like and how to get around. And I
Mhm.
really like the public transport system in Portland. It's so easy.
Oh, it's great.
And yeah, it's so good. I think the highlight was visiting Pal's
Oh yeah,
bookstore.
Powell's City of Books.
Yeah, that was so good. It was like a giant shop filled with levels, and it was like really convoluted. But it was somewhat organized too because it was color coded, but I
Yeah.
felt like it was just a maze of books inside. So that was really fun.
Yeah, that place is
Um,
great. I every time I go to Portland, I try to go there, even though I've been there many times. It's an awesome store. Even if the room designations stay the same, there's always new books to check out, which is really nice. And they also do that thing where employees write reviews of books or recommendations, and they slip them in the bookshelf by the book that's on display, which is really nice. So you can sort of hear an actual physical person's review, and you don't have to worry if it's, AI generated or fake.
yeah, totally. Yeah, no, you never know these days. So how did you feel the energy of the ASIP community was different this year compared to previous years?
That's an interesting question. Energy. I thought it was different because we had a lot of local school representation. Portland has a lot of different universities, and that was reflected in a lot of the invited speakers in the different sessions. That was really great. I, as far as energy, it was nice to see new trainee members join ASIP and participate in this conference. I think ASIP is a wonderful home society for us as researchers, and I think investigative pathology or pathobiology tends to throw people off. It is a really wide scope of research topics, and it's always fun to see it growing with like new member, like fresh blood.
Lots of fresh blood, lots of first-time attendees. I think
Mhm.
there were quite a few trainees at this event presenting for the first time, so that was really exciting to see that. And yeah, it's a really good point about pathobiology being really broad in terms of if you study diseases and how diseases form, then you're essentially like welcome to present at ASIP because that's what we want to hear about, how disease mechanisms kind of relate to each other and we're looking at all the organs as well. So every single part of the body is covered.
Exactly. Yeah. So, speaking of the different sessions in the conference and the new trainees there, we had a lot of the new trainees give talks. And I know that you moderated a couple sessions and I did as well. What was your experience moderating this year?
Yeah, I had a really great experience. So I'm part of the ocular pathobiology SIG or special interest group, and we like last year we had our inaugural ocular pathobiology session dedicated to only eye researchers, and this year we wanted to mix it up a bit and have a joint session with neuropathology and also vascular biology because there's a lot of overlap between the eye and the vasculature in the eye and the brain. So there were two sessions that I helped to organize, and one of which I moderated. So the one I moderated was the one on the intersection of the ocular pathobiology and vascular biology, which was really interesting. Yeah, there's so much overlap because like diseases like diabetic retinopathy, for example, it's all about vasculature, and the little blood vessels bleeding in the eye. So um, we had some really great speakers. Tim Corson was invited, one of our invited speakers, who I've seen multiple times at this other eye research meeting called ARVO, which is like the biggest annual research meeting for eye researchers. And it was really cool to see him in at ASIP as well, and he really enjoyed it. And yeah, so the great series of speakers. We also invited a local speaker. Yali, and she presented on OCT imaging, which is optical coherence tomography, which is a really cool technique. And basically, it allows us to see using light to get a cross section of the eye, and to then be able to understand the anatomy of the eye in real time and in patients, which is really cool because it's non-invasive. So So literally you can just shine a light and you can get an optical section because the eye is transparent. So that's a really cool feature of the eye is that we can get a lot of data from the eye without cutting through any tissue. We can literally just shine a light. So she had a lot of really cutting edge techniques. Yeah, just wonderful to be able to hear her speak because she's just yeah, like a leader in the field. Amazingly, they actually, she's part of KCI Institute of OHSU, and she and the committee members invited me to give a talk at OHSU at KCI Institute after the ASIP meeting. So it was really cool to see their lab and do a visit.
That's
That
amazing.
was, yeah,
Congrats.
that was really fun. Thank you. Yeah, it was incredible. I was so honored to be able to speak there.
Yeah. So do you think there's a move to HSU in the future for you?
Potentially. I do love Portland, so I won't rule that out. Yeah, that would be very nice. Although I'm very much like attached to Sydney, so yeah.
I understand.
Vic, yeah, what about you, your session that you moderated? What was your experience like?
I moderated a couple of sessions and then I had a surprise session at the end because one of the both moderators had to leave and they could not participate. So I and a
Wow,
first year attendee trainee both moderated the last liver session of the conference. It
amazing.
was a very interesting situation.
Saving the day.
It's, I mean, they ask you to jump and you say how high, right? It was, I had generally a good experience. One thing that I want to be better about, and I usually do read all the abstracts before each session, is to generate some preemptive questions in case the audience isn't really quick to jump on the mic and ask questions. And I think that's saved my butt a couple of times. It's always nice to give kudos to the speaker and let them know you were paying attention, but it's hard to think of questions on the spot. So that's when reading the abstracts ahead of time is really useful.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really good tip for anybody moderating is to be prepared with some questions because, yeah, definitely when you're up there, sitting on the podium, like on those that table, it is harder to kind of grasp all the things. And I think the way the the screen was set up was it did make it difficult. So you did have
Oh
to kind of
yeah,
sit
that
on like you had to move into the audience and then go back up. That could be something, yeah, that the room could be fixed for next time. Because yeah, like it's hard to take that in, think of questions and absorb all that information. So it's good to be prepared.
for sure. I think that another tip I would have or suggestion I would have for speakers and moderators is to check out the room ahead of time. Knowing that the screen is in that position really prepares you, and you don't walk in 1 minute before the session starts and like you don't even know if your mic works. The PowerPoints aren't uploaded on the podium computer. These are the things that can be really stressful if they do cause technical issues, which unfortunately happens often.
Yeah. And it's like in ways that you've never imagined before. Like it's funny how often it happens and you've done it a billion times, but yet some little tech error will go wrong when you actually are in like a time crunch
Right.
situation.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it bleeds into the rest of the session. So yeah, definitely ahead of time is always good.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so Vic, were there any particular talks or posters that really stood out to you?
I really enjoyed the mucosal biology sessions that focused on local researchers from OHSU that studied viral and bacterial infections of the gut mucosa. That's a field that I've been trying to get into since grad school, since I joined this podcast, basically. So that was really exciting. And both of the talks were really interesting and wrote down the speaker names to contact in the future for potential collaborations because every time I watch a mature researcher in that field speak, I realize that the learning curve for techniques is very steep. And I'm a liver biology researcher, and although I can do a Swiss roll of guts and stain it, there's a lot of techniques that I don't know. So there's a lot for me to pick up. How about for
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah, for me, I'd say I enjoyed many, many sessions, but I'm gonna highlight the other session that was ocular pathology slash neurobiology. And in that session, what really stood out to me, well, two talks. Firstly, there was a lot of work on Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's disease can be evident in the retina.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really cool because it's a very, you can assess it more easily, as I mentioned about those like OCT technology. You could probably probably diagnose Alzheimer's in the eye potentially, because it is a more accessible tissue than the brain. But the research that was presented by Katerina Kasaglu, it was really cool because she presented like a whole series of work that she'd done looking at different models where she found that, from mouse to human work, that Alzheimer's disease does form in the eye, in the retina, which was really interesting. And I think that's really new work, and everyone knows that the eye is an extension of the brain, so it does make sense. But I
Mm-hmm.
think the mechanisms definitely need more research and more understanding of how like Alzheimer's disease forms, and how it like travels and migrates into the retina as well, and it affects it there, and where it begins. Um, but in addition to that, this is quite surprising and possibly quite shocking. Is Elaine Bearer's research showing that you can actually get microplastic contamination in the brain, which I thought I
Oh,
was very, very surprised by, because we're all worried about microplastics, nanoplastics in today's day and age.
yeah.
And the shocking thing is, yeah, you can get it in your eyes now, because some of the eye drops, obviously, they're in plastic bottles. That you're picking it up in like the tears of the
Mm-hmm.
eyes. But in addition to that, it's quite shocking that it's traversed the blood-brain barrier. And now, um, those with Alzheimer's disease, they had looked into the brains, and I believe like they found some microplastic contamination. And it was really fascinating to hear that, kind of scary as well, but it's something that I've been trying to like see how I can cut back on plastics in my daily life, which is very difficult.
It's so
But
difficult, yeah.
yeah, something definitely to think about more.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the microplastics and nanoplastics episode that we released was also really eye-opening. So it'll be interesting to continue watching this field and maybe have some of these speakers back on the show.
Yeah, definitely. I like, yeah, we need to keep investigating this and talking about it more, so
Mhm.
we educate everybody about it, and we educate ourselves.
So
Um,
speaking of like cutting edge and new data and stuff, what's one thing you wish that people knew about making an impactful poster or maybe an impactful talk? Because I can imagine that this kind of delivery of science could get lost in the sauce if you're not a good science communicator.
yeah, definitely. I think one thing, well, what Elaine Berry did really well was she led up to this discovery, and how she did it. It was almost like a detective story. So she was like, "We sliced these brains. We found these interesting abnormalities in the sections of the brains,
Mhm.
and we tried to use different labels to mark it. And in the end, none of the labels worked." And it turned out to be plastic contamination, which was like really, really nice way of like talking about it. As almost like a detective novel. And I think that's a key part of having a really impactful presentation, and something memorable. Obviously, I'm remembering it like even a few months out from the meeting,
Mhm.
is to weave in some sort of narrative, and not to make it too typical, because I think the narrative can become really stock standard in our field. We kind of just say, you know, how big the disease is, like prevalence and things like that, and go into the mechanism. But like also just mixing it up a bit, like just, you know, being creative, and also having some sort of context to other tissue organs and things like that. Like, for example, I'm always in the eye research, but when we're presenting to the ASIP audience, they're not all eye researchers. So just making that more relevant for other researchers would also make it engaging. So knowing your audience is really important. If presented to the eye research conference, obviously we kind of cut back on some of the explanations of, you know, basic eye anatomy and things like that, but actually to a pathology audience that is more broad, it provides that context that's really valuable, because I certainly don't know about liver anatomy and physiology and all that. So I actually really appreciate it when I hear some slides that explain that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that is really nice. I like it when people break down stories and it almost makes you feel like you're the scientist making the discovery. That sounds like a really brilliant way to present your work.
Yeah, definitely. What about on the poster front? Is there something that you really like to see and that's super engaging for you?
I can tell you what I hate. I hate when people put their abstract on the poster. It makes me want to throw up. It's the font is this big. I can't read it except if my nose is touching the poster. It makes no sense to put on there. It's a waste of space. I'd rather see a bio render figure or a hand drawn working schematic than this abstract, you know? I do love when they have a bulleted takeaway messages. Like if you don't read the whole poster, no problem. Here are my findings. And I love it when they have a little QR code for you to contact them or message them on LinkedIn or anything. That's always really useful because sometimes you may have a question, but you could be a little shy or timid and don't want to ask, or there's a crowd of people around them and you've got to catch the next session, so you need to jet out, but you can quickly snap a photo, then message them separately. And that's always nice.
That's a really great point. And I think, yeah, I've been to posters where there's like five people surrounding them. They're
Yeah.
like in the middle of it. And I almost don't want to cut in. And so, yeah, that's a great option. And I do have like other posters to get to. So that's really good. And also having the summary points is so vital,
Oh, yeah.
because all that information literally goes over my head. And then when you read that summary, it contextualizes all the things that I just heard. And then it like consolidates all those results for me. So definitely works really well, and for talks as well, to have that summary slide.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think even to like end on your summary slide so that you can encourage some more questions in case
Oh,
people.
yeah.
So if you end on the acknowledgement slide, it's great, but like um sometimes if you just go back one step, you might get more questions from the audience because people are like, "Oh yeah, that's what you're talking about." Well, yeah, I did have some questions. So that can kind of spark some questions as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah. I think that there's a lot of ways where science communication can really flourish and poster and oral presentations, and that's probably something that we can cover on this podcast in future episodes is the best practice.
Yeah. Yeah, so for the listeners out there, if you're interested, please like send us a message on our social media accounts. DM us and we'll be happy to definitely share more tips. And if you have any questions about specific questions, yeah, DM us and we can include that in our podcast.
For sure. All right. So let's see. What else did we do? Well, we obviously traveled. You some more than others. Doctor travels from Australia to US yearly.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's always such like a venture for me. Like for me, it's yeah. This one was a big one because I had the Arvo Eye Research Conference straight after.
Mhm.
So I think I had a month of travel in the US, which was really good for my jet lag because like I pretty much had adapted. But initially, definitely I struggled for the first couple of days. I think I approached it a lot better just compared to other conferences. So I think the key thing when you attend a conference is to know your circadian rhythms. So if
Mhm.
you, yeah, so like catch the sessions that like obviously you have to attend, but for those ones that may not be super relevant, think about that. Think about like, do you want to take a little bit of a breather at that point? Because you don't have to attend everything. And I think that's really crucial. As in you should attend the majority of, the key, all your key talks and posters that are relevant, all those sessions. But for those optional sessions, think about that, and you could actually take advantage of, a little bit of sightseeing and things like that. Because otherwise, if you um, this is something I learned over the years of attending many conferences because I always felt like compelled to, attend everything, keep going, get all that juicy goodness out of the scientific meetings. But it does like overwhelm you. So in that sense, like I think, yeah, it's good to like step out and explore the city a little bit and come back a bit more refreshed so you can take in all that the good stuff. Otherwise, you can burn out at a conference even within the 3 to 4 day span.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I agree that you should have a little bit of a non-scientific content break, which we tried to incorporate with Pathomingle, but I even on your own sometimes or like in Salt Lake City at Pathobiology 2023 or 2024. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
2023.
2023. I went to the museum by myself, the Museum of Natural History, because I love dinosaurs. Anytime there's a museum with dinosaur bones, your girl is there looking at them. And I went by myself, and it was the best way to recharge my batteries for this, for the Pathomingo conference because it can be really draining. The social responsibility of being an engaged listener and speaker is heavy taxes on my batteries. Like I just get drained really fast.
Yeah, and I think the other caveat, I think what's important to think about is like you could just like, power on and just like, attend everything, but you end up like even falling asleep in meetings. Like I've seen, a lot of really even from the senior researchers, zoning out during a talk because it's a perfect like sleep conditions when you think about it because it's a dark room and it's nice and warm. So like if you do kind of go intensely hard on every single meeting, you might even not be able to be that engaged listener that we're talking about. So definitely recharge your batteries. And make sure you eat lunch as well. It's really hard to squeeze that in sometimes between sessions. So and take advantage of the lunch and learn sessions because lunch is provided. So take advantage of that because I think sometimes like you're rushing and rushing to get food before your next session. But just make sure you factor that in at the start of the day so that you do make time for food.
Yeah, I agree. Taking care of yourself during these conferences will make you a better attendee and give you a better experience. It won't be such a burden to attend them in the future. And you may be able to network better because you're in a better mood because you ate.
Yeah, exactly. No hangry.
Exactly. All right. So we kind of touched on how we balance being on professionally and also taking some time to relax while traveling. You obviously have a longer travel window than I did when I was visiting, but I mentioned earlier my sister lives in Portland, and that was something fun I got to do at the end of every day. I stayed with her at her house, and I got to hang out with my sister, and that was a way to balance this super demanding just brain always on. You have to be clever, you have to be thinking science all the time, and then you get to go home and relax with family. That's always nice too.
That is so nice. Yeah, I think it's really nice to have someone, like not a hotel room. That's like a really refreshing way of like spending a conference. Yeah, I had that once for a Boston meeting, for the Academy of Optometry. This was back in like 2022 or something. And yeah, it was really nice because I just went home to my place in Boston, which is nice because I think the hotel experience can be a little bit like the sleeps might not be that great. Sometimes they are fantastic, sometimes they aren't. And when you're, amongst loved ones, in their homes, it's really inviting and really cozy. And I think that's a really great experience that you got to
Yeah,
have.
yeah, for sure. I'm like waiting for the conference to be in Pittsburgh, so I don't have to I don't have to sit.
Yeah, yeah, no travel.
Um, so after the conference, you've had multiple days of engaging science and networking and socialization, and now we have to go back to the real world and go back to lab, and we have to do experiments. We have to write grants. They have to be submitted. We have to submit papers. How do you find your groove again? How does Daisy get her groove back?
Daisy tries very hard to overcome her jet lag. Um, yeah, so that process definitely takes a week at least. Not to say you need to take like a week of annual leave, but I think one thing I've realized, and this is something I realized like literally like in the past couple years, which I wish I'd told my like former self, is to if you arrive back home on the Sunday, let's say, take at least have a day before you go back to the lab just to reset. So take off an extra like Monday, and then pre-organize that, make sure that's in your calendars, make sure there's nothing booked, no meetings and whatnot. Um, because that one day is going to really help you reset. Because if you jump straight back into it, it's almost like it's just like full on, running around like crazy, doing experiments here and there and talking to your students and organizing like various things. And I think having that one day really helps. So from now on, I'm going to try to actually, this is like my new rule. If I do have a meeting and I'm traveling, having one day before and one day after like that are locked in for annual leave, or so just like accounted for, so that you can have a day to prepare and a day to reset, and at least a day, like if not more, if you are able to use more time. But I think that's been a really great help for me. Yeah.
I'm muted. Oh my gosh. How do we get our group back? Oh, that sounds smart. Having a day to like sort of take a vacation from the conference at home sounds like a great strategy. One of the things that I tend to do,
Vacation.
I work off of lists. Sometimes the lists never end. I understand that, and that can be overwhelming. But if I don't have a list and I can't cross things off, I almost feel like I'm not being productive. It's like the catharsis of checking off the to-do list helps me sort of get my feelings back in the lab. And one thing that I try to avoid is if I go to a conference and I see a really cool technique or a really cool project, I don't immediately try to implement it in my life. I sort of give myself a couple of weeks to think about it further before trying to pursue it, especially whenever we have these budget cuts and like changes in funding with the NIH. We have to be a little bit more conservative with our spending, and we can't chase these like wild, exciting ideas. So that's one of the strategies that I try to do or try to implement in my life.
Yeah, so it's not like impulse trying, but rather like a very thoughtful, considered approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, wow, we covered so much today. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think like definitely, ASIP is a great meeting to attend. So to all our listeners out there who haven't attended ASIP, the really exciting thing is it's going to be at the beach next year
Oh, that's
at
right.
Cape
Fort
Coral in
Lauderdale.
Florida. Yeah, so it's going to be amazing. And I think the vibes are going to be totally different. I think we're going to see a lot of people in their flip-flops, possibly going to the meeting. And
Mhm.
yeah, just summery vibes. So I think I'm really excited for that. And yeah, always great to see everyone. I think the other thing I love about these conferences is it's a mini reunion each time,
Yeah.
to see each other face to face and just to kind of like have that time aside outside of the lab to kind of consolidate what we've learned, like sharing some new findings. And it's also a moment of reflection. It's like, oh yeah, I have been, generating data and there is something to present this year. So that's kind of nice as well.
Yeah, no, it is nice to get to see your friends. Like I have called ASIP like ASIP family before, and I definitely feel that way. I have really close relationships, not only with you because I get to see your beautiful face quite often via Zoom, but Michelle and Francisco, they're my friends, like we're supporting each other through these careers, and it's nice to have someone that is completely separate from you research wise or is not in your lab that understands the struggles you're going through, because in academia, in my opinion, overworked, underpaid, underappreciated more often than not, and we're supposed to keep grinding until we die. Like I like, I
Mhm.
don't know where the end is, right? So that's having someone that can sort of keep you sane is really nice. And I think ASIP helps provide a community that helps us remind ourselves that we're humans and we're not supposed to just be researchers only.
Thank you for listening to Behind Our Science, episode 31, where Daisy and I covered Pathobiology 2025, ASIP's annual meeting in Portland, Oregon. We hope that our tips, advice, and best practices for conference travel were useful for you. If you have any ideas of topics that you want us to cover, please let us know in the comments below or reach out to us through social media. Don't forget to join us for our next episode, where we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month by interviewing members of the ASIP community and ask them how they bring their culture and their authentic selves to science. Thank you for listening, and as always, stay curious.